Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. I hope you can hear me with the sound. I'm coming in live from London. And today we have our guest, the author and magician, Brian Ballett. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you over there in sunny Eastern Europe, I believe?
Well, Czechoslovakia, yeah, it's not sunny. It has been snowing. It's very cold, so I recommend. It's very beautiful to look at, but not so good to walk around in.
Oh, right.
So,
I've never been there. Does it look like Russia with golden domes everywhere, or no?
I'm in Karlovaira, which essentially is what was old Bohemia. So it's very esoteric. There's very old Greek statues. There's absolutely beautiful houses, marvelous parks. It truly is a wondrous place. I would recommend it to anybody. I mean, if you like winter, then when it's snowing, it's absolutely incredible. In the summer, it's even better. So it's
I
like really
didn't, I
cool.
didn't, I didn't know that term Bohemian came from Czechoslovakia and had no idea.
Yeah, well, this is where Shelley and Byron and Goethe and Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Dvorak, all these guys stayed here in this place, and also Karl Marx. How about that? Karl Marx stayed here as well.
Oh, right. I'm going to have to watch a documentary about it. I have no idea what it looks like. So,
Uh,
will you go back to Ukraine, or you don't know? You don't know yet, I suppose.
I don't know what's going to happen at the moment. Obviously, I don't think anybody does. They're talking
Hmm.
about it's going to be over in September. I mean, but who knows? I mean, realistically, who knows? I'm hoping to go back to India, and because I was talking to my guru, and we were talk. I need to do some work with him, and he wants to do some work with me. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So
Oh,
hopefully,
excellent.
yeah, probably from April I might go to Bali because I'm just fed up of living in winter, and then
Yes,
then
me too.
and then after Bali, then go to India and spend a few months working with my guru, which should be really cool. You know?
Oh, fantastic. Hope you can do some shows from there. That will be interesting.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get him on. But it's we've spoke about it before, but these guys are not. Unfortunately, what you find in India is India has what you call the tourist enlightenment, where essentially what happens is that the so-called gurus pay local thieves to go through your luggage, and they glean information about you. Then you allegedly meet this guru by accident, and he'll say, "Oh, I see that you've had a mother who's just passed recently." Oh, and they just tell you, they just repeat everything they find in their luggage for you. Yeah,
Oh,
it's really,
that's a
it's really,
shame.
yeah, it's really quite deceitful. However, there is a a proper group of gurus. White people never ever meet them. I was extremely lucky because I was introduced by an adept friend to Rama, and I was the only white boy in the village. That was quite interesting. Yeah, and
Oh, that's nice.
I mean we did some meditation. The meditation was he wanted just to see what I was like, and then he said to me, "Did you see anything?" And I said, "Yeah, all around me was black Buddhas meditating." And he smiled. He said, "Yes." He said, "That was the enlightened brothers from millennia helping you to become enlightened."
Oh, that's cool.
So he saw them as well, which was like really, really cool. Then I met a very, very high adept who was a woman. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, that was. But these people, they just shun publicity. They're not into it. You know, they just they get on with what they want to get on with. They're not interested in the tourists. And only the adepts or or very high spiritually advanced people can meet these guys. Seriously, it's I'm very honoured to know them. Literally, they are from another world. Seriously, they are from another world. The things they can do and the healing they can do. I mean, this is where Jesus learned. Well, Isha, he was Ishua or Yeshua. Isha went to Kashmir, and it was in the University of Kashmir, which was the only university in the world, that he learnt all the healing techniques and the Hinduism, and he learnt about the Buddhism and everything. He learnt it there, and that's what he brought back to the East. And essentially, that's why he could heal so many people. Because, I mean, these guys. My wife had a really bad gallbladder problem, and they literally healed it. So yeah, it's just something else. I mean, what you see, what they can do, and then you understand just how phony these so-called gurus are. Which is like, I mean, they're very successful and they're very knowledgeable, but they're nowhere near these guys. Honestly, they're nowhere near them.
I wanted to talk about my experience to you to gain your wisdom on what happened, because I know you're knowledgeable about magic and etc. I was meditating with a Shia Muslim lady, a neighbor, and I started to see these beings with headdress, Arab beings, headdress. She's Arab, and they didn't have faces, and where their faces were was kind of like static. I can't remember that first time whether they said anything to me. She said to me, "Oh, they're who I pray to. I think Shia Muslims pray to them a lot. They're the Al-Hal Abait." Then that night when I went to sleep, they came to me and we just had an interaction. They said to me that I'd had Sahir done on me, and they they were in a circle and they showed me a little genie. They kind of conjured up this tiny little sparkly kind of genie, and they said, do you accept? So I said yes. And then this genie went to work on me, and he kind of sucked out things out my chakras, and it looked like yellow kind of snot. And then he took kind of pins out of me, and then they got all this stuff together, this little tiny genie, and he kind of blasted it into the air. And I started to see pictures of people that I'd actually known before, because I had sort of similar things done to me that had sent me curses. And then they appeared the next night and they said, "Do you want us to teach you stuff?" And I just wondered what you thought about that, because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's evil." And I've been trying to read about the Ahabalat. Apparently, they are the family of Muhammad.
Well, I mean, the trouble with all astral travel, yeah, okay. The thing is what we are not told. Yeah, what we are not told is within the astral realm there are three types of being. Yeah, okay. There is what we would call what the Christians call the satanic beings, which everybody else would call shaitan, or there are other names that they go by. But then there is a third being, which is neither white nor black. Now, the problem with all these beings, even the Luciferic beings, they are not attached to any realm on our earth. So they don't really care about what's happening on our earth. You probably met people yourself who are very religious, but they don't wash, they don't have a house, and they just go around telling God bless you and all this sort of thing. They have been taken over by very powerful Luciferic beings. And although they have a certain amount of enlightenment, that enlightenment does not allow them to live on this world. Yeah, it just destroys them on this world. On the other side, you have the very dark beings, which will grant you power, give you everything that you want. But unfortunately, the deal is that you end up giving them a part of your soul, so to speak, and that soul is then held by these entities forever. The middle guys, the higher angels, yeah, okay. These entities will allow you to ascend to the Godhead. Now, if you speak to adepts, anything below the Godhead is in fact satanic. Okay, and the reason for that is that what they want is your energy within that realm. So if they do not take you to the Godhead, but they take you to the light, there is a big difference between the Godhead and the light. The light makes you feel absolutely fantastic, but the Godhead is beyond description. Yeah, which is, it really is something else. I doubt that you'd be able to describe the Godhead. And that's really the acid test, is that when you meet these astral beings, if they cannot take you to the higher realms of consciousness, the Godhead, not the light. The light is easy. The light in the Kabbalic sense would be Tiphereth, which is a lower heaven. Yeah, okay. But you need to go through the Tiphereth, through Kether, and then actually through Kether again to the ultimate Godhead. Yeah, okay. I mean,
what is that called?
Well, it depends what religion you are. Seriously, it really depends.
Well, what does the Kabbalah? What does the Kabbalah call it? Because you just use the Kabbalah.
If we're looking at the Kabbalah, let me go through it with you. The Heya is like the first connection, and then you have something called the Yekida, which connects to absolutely everything, and it is the Yekata which shines into our base soul, which is called the Nefesh. Yeah, okay. It's that reflection that allows our soul to understand that we need to move towards the higher levels of consciousness. Yeah, okay. And that's essentially how it works. But unfortunately, Westerners do not know about this, because essentially they just think the soul is the soul. Yeah, but if you're going to understand spiritual practices, you have to understand that the soul's task is to ascend to the Godhead. Yeah, okay, and that any realm in between our level of consciousness and the Godhead is not really where you want to be. I mean, to further understand the Judaic philosophy on this, there's a brilliant book called The Book of Six Doctrines and Beliefs, written by Rabbi Saidia, who his work is absolutely amazing. I would strongly recommend that if you really want to sort of understand this concept of the soul. I mean, the ancient Egyptians had the same concept of the soul, Ib being the heart, Suet the shadow, Ren the name, Ba the personality, Ka the vital spark, and Ak would be what we understand the highest part of the soul, which connects to the Godhead. Yeah, but like the thing is that when if you only think of your soul as one entity, then maybe in the Egyptian sense, you're only dealing with what is the heart, or you're dealing with what is the ren. The whole soul has to travel, not parts of the soul. However, when you get nearer the Godhead, you will find that parts of the soul drop off, a little bit like a rocket going into space, and then you're left with the vital spark, which is you, and that then goes to what is commonly known as the Godhead. Yeah. Anything below that, and essentially, you can use these entities, and these entities can use you. Yeah. But the point is that you, in high spiritualism, the idea is to go to the Godhead. There's also another book that is well worth reading to help you understand about what is called the law of correspondence. It was written by New Thought pioneer William Walkin Atkinson, and the book is called The Kybalion. Yeah, okay, and that really explains about the great physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane, but it doesn't really go into the sort of like the more mystical side. For that.
Well, doesn't the theosophical stuff like Ledbetter and A.E. Powell, they're pretty good with the mental plane and books on the astral plane. Have you read any of theirs?
Yeah. I mean, their stuff is really good. I mean, essentially, they got all their stuff off Blavatsky. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Blavatsky was a true adept. There is no way around it. I mean, adept.
What is that book of hers you told me to read ages ago?
And you haven't? The Secret Doctrine.
No, I haven't read it.
Well, there you go then. Yeah, the Secret Doctrine. Yeah. Okay. Seriously.
Yeah.
But I mean, a very quick book to read if you really want to understand about high spirituality, ironically, is the Gospel of Thomas, but the Gnostic version. Yeah. Okay. In it, Jesus says, rather the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you when you come to know yourself. He's talking about the dynamic of the soul when he says that. Also, if you read the very early works of Patanjali, he was like 2 centuries before Jesus. He more or less says the same thing as well. When a person becomes inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary projects, all your thoughts break their bonds, your mind transcends limitations, and your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new and great, wonderful world. Okay? Yeah. I mean, that's what he said.
What's his book called?
Just Patanjali on yoga, but you won't read it. Maybe start on the Gospel of Thomas. It's easy to read, okay. And it kind of gives you an idea, and then maybe move on to like the highest levels of consciousness. But I tell you who else was really, really good at understanding soul consciousness, and that, of course, was Jung. Jung. I mean, literally, if you read anything by Jung or Steiner or Gurdjieff, yeah. I mean, Gurdjieff's. Have you read Gurdjieff's stuff?
No.
Gurdjieff stuff. Yeah, I mean, some of it's just balmy because he was a rogue, but a lot of the stuff he wrote about was really, really interesting.
What's the best book to start with on?
Better to read one about him. Yeah. Sort of like because his books are really self-indulgent, where people who've actually practiced with Gurdjieff, give their experience and what they found. You can actually find audiobooks on YouTube about them.
Oh right.
Which is really, so you can just listen to it.
I was using the Z library and it got raided by the FBI, and Oh, it was such a good resource. They had so many PDFs on magic. It's just I feel so sad it's gone.
Yeah, it's absolutely mad. But I mean, the thing is you can overkill. Yeah, you can overkill
Mm.
really. I mean, like most of this philosophy is regurgitated. I mean, the person who really, if you like, put into words that the Westerners read was Celsius, yeah? And he said that man is a microcosm and we are an extract from the stars, yeah? As well as the whole firmament and the earth element, yeah? So essentially, we are the fifth essence, if you like. And Paracelsus wrote that, sort of hundreds of years ago. Yeah, sort of, these guys understood, what was going on, and
Mm. Mm.
but over the years, what happens is, of course, is that various Abrahamic religions have come in and said there's only one soul, it doesn't break into sort of other souls, and blah blah blah. And it was, I mean, like when Blavatsky spoke about this, she spoke about this turn of the century, along with Crowley and sort of all these people. They were really worried because people didn't understand that the soul was disappearing because the knowledge that was behind the soul had gone. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
And so, like it is worth reading old books on Jewish
Of
mysticism,
course. Yeah.
and then then you will find out that when you're actually doing astral travel, like, I mean, it's great to meet the ascended masters if they are ascended masters. The only ascended masters can take you to the Godhead. If they cannot take you to the Godhead and they only take you to the light, then they're not really worth dealing with, because
Mm.
essentially they're just
What
there
what
to
what
take
what do
energy off
what
you.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you think? I tried to read up on these guys, and a few Muslims online sent me their writings. I haven't had time to read them yet. They seem to have sigils as well, but when I saw them astrally, they had these sigils floating around them. And when you read about them online, they each have their own separate sigil, sign or whatever. It's probably called something else in Islam. But I wondered, I mean, whether it's good to meet up with them or read or are they jinn? I mean, what do you think? I mean, maybe
Well,
that's
I mean, everything is jinn because it means it's hidden. Yeah.
mm-hmm,
Okay. Um, but I know lots of high-ranking Sufis. Okay. Yeah. Lots of high-ranking Sufis. Privately, they are not convinced about Muhammad. Okay. Yeah. They are
mm-hmm,
not. They're not convinced about him. And just recently, there's been quite a lot of movement from ex-Muslims who have said more or less the same thing, that the Muhammad that you're supposed to believe in doesn't really correspond with anything to do with history and really solid facts. I mean, I don't want to upset people, but it's absolutely known that Mecca did not exist when Muhammad was around. Yeah, when he was supposed to be around, which in the 14th century. If you look at where Mecca is, it can't be a trading point because it hasn't got water, it hasn't got food. Yeah, whereas history, the genuine history books talk about Muhammad living in the Nabatean kingdom of Petra, where there was water, where there was trading. Yeah. However, this is the other sting to the tail, is that where Muhammad lived, it was predominantly Christian. So, I mean, depending what books you read,
what was the book you were going to send me that you told me about this morning?
I can't send it to you, but I've told It's a challenge to Islam for Reformation by Gunter Luling. The book's been banned for about 40 years. Essentially, it just states quite simply that Muhammad and his first wife were in fact Gnostic Christians, what we would understand as Gnostic Christians.
Does that matter?
Well, then you've got to ask questions. Well, where does Allah come from? If essentially they are worshipping,
maybe that's Yahweh. Surely it's Yahweh. That's what I was told when I converted.
Well, no, the Gnostic Christians were not into the Yahweh. They were essentially the same as the Buddhists and the Hindus. They believed in the Godhead. Yeah, okay. And the Godhead was through Jesus Christ. Hence, anointed. The anointed is the spinal fluid which raises up through the spine and goes into the pituitary gland and then gets your third eye. That's essentially the kind of work that they were doing. They were nothing to do with Yahweh. The Yahweh of the Old Testament was a thunder god, and that's what Jesus was saying. He denounced the gods of the Old Testament, and he was pushing forward the heaven within, which is what we call now the raising of the Kundalini.
But hang on, I thought he went on about the God of the Old Testament and said how he was that God's son.
Well, now we're going to get really, really complicated, because the whole Godhead Son thing, yeah, that was introduced in the Council of Nicaea, okay, yeah. And in the Council of Nicaea, they decided that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. But Jesus Christ never spoke about being the Son of God. Like I said, you have to read the Gospel of Thomas. He speaks more about the religious experience being inside yourself, and being part of the Kundalini. He doesn't ever call himself, he may refer to himself as like the Godhead, which is a completely different thing. But yeah, I mean, if you read the old Gnostic texts, that's essentially what he's talking about. Anything from Nag Hammadi or something like that, that's the Christianity before it was played around with by the Council of Nicaea. So it's a very complicated history. Yeah. I mean, if you read stuff by Elaine Pagal as well, Elaine Pagal's really very, very interesting author. She had a book out a few years ago, The Origins of Satan. That's a really interesting book to read. Sort of like it's not how you think it is. What we are given is, if you like, the McDonald's version of Christianity, which is absolutely nothing to do with Christianity. Seriously.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Well, yeah, I thought so. I mean, I don't like it, so I mean.
Well, yeah, but like I said, even if you're a Muslim, you're still worshipping Jesus, because essentially quite a lot of the Quran refer to Jesus. Yeah. So this is what.
So what about those beings that I saw? I mean, what do you think they are?
Well, the acid test is can they take you to the Godhead? If they can't take you to the God, if they can't take you to the Godhead. I haven't
tried that.
Well, yeah, when you meet them, you say, yeah, great, thanks guys for helping me, but I want to go to the Godhead. Yeah, okay. And if they can take you to the Godhead, then they are the real deal. If they just surround you by beautiful light that makes you feel absolutely wonderful, then essentially they're Luciferic. Yeah, what we would class as Luciferic. But the worst thing is they won't know that they're Luciferic. Okay, in the same way that people, like there's a joke, sort of what's the difference between dead and stupid? Nothing, because neither knows that they're dead and neither knows that they're stupid. In the same case, these guys do not know that they are Luciferic. They understand that they are higher beings. Yeah. And they don't see any limitation, because that's how they see themselves. But realistically, they cannot go to the Godhead. If they went to the Godhead, they would take you to the Godhead. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I'll interact with them again. They only came to me a few times, and they haven't the last few nights. So I think it's pretty much done.
Yeah, well, perhaps they've got the energy off you that they wanted to get. I mean, as I've told you before, all entities, thrive on energy. And
Well, they removed stuff from me. I mean, I'm grateful for that. It felt, I mean, I know I've had
yeah, but
stuff
hold on,
done on
Christine.
me.
Yeah, but Christine, sort of like, has it altered your life to any great degree?
I feel I mean, it was only last night. I feel that much more positive, that much more saner. It has altered me a bit. Yeah, for sure. And who knows what I feel clearer, because I think Sahir, as Sheikh bin Alama said, it causes confusion. It causes your life to be like bunged up. I feel less bunged up, less confusion, more clear-sighted. But I think it's a thing that doesn't bang, and then you kind of see your life in that way. I mean, my life has been very heavy and confused, a lot of confusion, and I feel as if I'm coming out of that. So that's all good, and I'm certainly grateful for it.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, like I said, the only real way that you can tell whether or not you're with an entity that has a positive impact on your life is also what happens to you on this physical plane. Yeah, sort of like, you know, you've seen it yourself. The guy with the clothes on and the Bible, telling everybody that they've got to be saved, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and he completely believes in it because the Luciferic being that is controlling him makes him believe in that, but it doesn't make him believe in himself, and it won't connect to this world. Yeah, and this is the problem. This is why when you speak to Kabbalists, that they use the middle pillar, because essentially they don't want to be left, they don't want to be right, they want to be on the middle pillar, because that keeps, while you're on this plane of existence, you need to be grounded in this plane of existence and also have the ability to go to the higher levels of consciousness. Yeah. If you do one thing or the other, then literally your life is either taken, or your soul is either taken from you, or your life is taken from you. Yeah. It happened when I was working with my guru. This white girl was taken to him, and it was the weirdest sensation I've ever felt. When you were in a presence, it felt like you were in an echo chamber, and time didn't exist. Yeah. Okay. And what had happened was she'd been doing Kundalini meditation, and she'd pulled an entity into her, which had, if you like, suspended her between one level of consciousness and another. And literally, when you spoke to her, you felt dizzy, you felt sick, you felt everything. And Rama told her to stop meditating. And she looked at him with really big wide eyes, and she said, okay. And she stopped meditating. And within 3 days, you could talk to her like a normal human being, because the entity was no longer getting the energy off her, and it had decided to leave. Yeah, which was, that was weird. I tell you, it was really, I've never ever seen anything like that. It was quite startling to actually come in and time and everything just change. Yeah, that's how powerful they are, these beings.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Jinn Illuminated is a new book by Brian Barot. It's the result of a lifetime study in occultism. Barot has worked with adepts in India, Africa, and the Yemen. This book allows the reader access to the jinn. Everything within its pages is authentic. This book has been reviewed by occultists such as J.S. Garrett. who believes it's one of the best books ever written on the subject of jinn. It's also been reviewed by Sufi masters, namely German Coedo Myers, who believes this is a really good book. Moreover, Christine Hart, Sunday Times best-selling author, she writes, "This book is wonderful, a glorious read. It's not for nothing. Brian Barrett has been called the Jinn Master. If you want fame, if you want a better relationship, if you want spiritual awakening, Jinn Illuminated is available on Kindle."